Hello everyone, welcome back to another installment of Life Stories. As usual, my name is Trent and we are back at it with more Entitled Parents stories. Let's get started. Our first story of the day is titled, I Expect You to Ruin Your Turkey Because I Am Clearly Colorblind. This story took place 6 years ago. A little backstory. I got married young, and on our third Thanksgiving, we were going to host a huge, or to me it was huge, gathering. About 30 people, mostly single soldiers. Anyway, back when I was an okay cook, I had never made a turkey, so I called my grandma and asked her. After all, she was the one who always made the turkey and everything else for Thanksgiving growing up. My grandma gave me the recipe and careful directions, like make sure I take out the neck and gizzards. All this information is important to the story. Our Thanksgiving goes off perfect. The food is outstanding, I get lots of compliments, and I call my grandma to tell her and thank her, of course. This first year gives me the confidence to continue having huge Thanksgivings for the next 15 or so years, where I've become a really good turkey cook, but I was always using my grandma's turkey recipe. I want to note that I always check the temperature of the turkey at least 3 to 4 places before calling it done. I've had food poisoning, not from my cooking though, and I would never want to cause that. Finally, it's time to retire from the military, and we were no longer having single soldiers for holidays, and it felt strange. I don't even know how to cut back, but we invite some family for Thanksgiving. I say some, because there's so much drama, not everyone will be in the same house at the same time. Anyways, for this year, we invite my mom, EM, my stepdad, SD, who, by the way, is a really nice guy, and EM invites a friend, as we say more the merrier, everyone is welcome. After all, it is Thanksgiving. EM asks if they need to bring anything. I said, if you want, you can bring the rolls. I should have just said nope, don't bring anything. EM then said, well, since I have to drive to you, why don't you buy the rolls? And began telling me exactly which one I was expected to purchase. Here's the thing. She told me, but I had no clue what freaking rolls she was talking about, and I told her. She was annoyed, but told me I would simply find them when I go to the store, and that if they don't have them at one, I could go to a different store. I ignored her. Moving forward to the actual day of Thanksgiving, I woke up at 4 a.m. to get the turkey in the oven and prep the ham and all the other food that I didn't get to the day before. I'm running around making sure everything is perfect. EM, SD, and their friends show up. We had a few other guests coming too, but they weren't arriving until a little later. EM was being herself, telling me how she would have done things different, etc., but I ignored her. Then, the turkey was done, and I went about checking it, as I have for at least 16 turkeys before this, but I'm pretty sure more. Oh, and also, for anyone who's ever made a turkey, you know the internal thermometer they put in them? It was popped up, indicating it was done. I, personally, never trusted the internal thermometers. I always check the legs and breasts on both sides. The turkey is past the required temp in every single location tested. I keep it wrapped up, but out of the oven so it doesn't dry out. Finish the rest of the food, and then cut into the turkey. EM is, no kidding, standing over my shoulder. It's pink, with every cut. It's pink. It's pink. I turned around and looked at her and said no it isn't, and that the temp was fine. I am not letting you serve this to anyone. This will make them sick. EM, it's not pink. It is pink. Hey, come over here and look at this. It's pink, right? EM's friend didn't say anything and just looked uncomfortable. My son says, yeah, it doesn't look pink to me. No one is eating this. I walk out of the kitchen and ask my husband to look at the turkey. I want to make sure he doesn't see any pink. If he does, I'll need to figure something out. My husband comes and tells me it's not pink. I walk back to the kitchen. So? I tell her it's not pink, and I take a piece and eat it, and it was so good and juicy. You're going to give everyone salmonella poisoning. Fine, I say. I took a lot of the cut-up turkey, put some juice on it, and put it back in the oven for 10 minutes. I covered it, hoping it wouldn't dry out. I pulled it out of the oven. The turkey I'd put in was dried. I didn't put all of it in, and I was so ticked off. This became the year EM ruined the turkey, and it was the last Thanksgiving she was ever invited to. To this day, my son likes to say, "It's pink," in reference to his entitled grandma. This actually hits me on such a deep personal level because I have cooked a lot of turkeys. I do a lot of cooking for the family when Thanksgiving comes around, and I have only horror stories to talk about. Maybe I'll post on Entitled Parents, who knows? Our next story has something of a startling title. Entitled Mom Tried to Fight a Child. Huh. Our cast is EB, Entitled Babysitter, ED, Entitled Daughter, T, Teacher, UF, Uncle's Friend, OP, me, and BF, Boyfriend. Now that we got that out of the way, this is a little long, but trust me, it's worth it. Here's a little backstory for this whole mess of events. It was my 4th grade year, and this entitled woman has been my babysitter for about a year, and her daughter is the same age as me and is in the same school. I also had a quote-unquote boyfriend, but we were basically just best friends with a different title. One day, me and BF were playing video games in my bedroom with the door slightly open. ED walks into the room, stares at us like we're monsters, and then leaves and closes the door. Weird interaction, right? We thought so too, but just forgot about it. Well, a couple weeks go by, and all my friends are coming up to me saying, "Congrats!" including ED, and I had no clue what was going on. Finally, one of my friends explains it to me, and she says, "Well, ED has been going around saying she caught you and the BF doing the deed, and now you're pregnant." Looking back at this now, I should have done things differently, but I was in 4th grade, so I took the immature route. I started going up to ED and saying, "Congrats," back to her in a rude tone whenever I could. Bad move, OP, bad move. In comes EB. She's searching the sea of children, trying to find me, and we lock eyes. She stomps over to me and starts laying into me. The conversation goes as follows. "Why are you spreading these lies about my angel? How dare you? How would you like it if someone did that to you?" "But ED did," she cuts me off. "Don't you dare accuse my precious daughter of saying anything that horrific. Because of what you did, she had to stay home. What is wrong with you? I should teach you a lesson." She grabs me by the arm and starts to drag me away in front of everyone. By the way, her way of a lesson is just beating kids with a wooden spoon, and if that's not available, the metal side of a belt. My saving grace of a teacher enters. Excuse me, miss, what do you think you're doing?" "This heathen has been spreading lies about my child." "If that's not your child, you are not allowed to take them." T turns to me. "Sweetie, go to the office and I'll come get you when it's safe." "No, she's coming with me. I'm going to make sure she never spreads lies like this again." She grabbed me by the shirt and tried to walk away again when the principal and teacher stop her. "EB, you just threatened a child. If you do not leave the school property right now, you and your child will be banned from this entire district. Do you understand?" EB's jaw dropped. She starts sputtering, but can't even make out a full word before my uncle's friend sees me being dragged and runs over. By the way, did I mention my uncle was a senior in high school and his friends knew how much my uncle cared for me? UF yanks me from EB's grasp and shoves her away. "Hey lady, you put your hands on OP again and I'll drop you where you stand." Finally, EB left, and UF walked me home to make sure I was safe. Bad part is that I still had her as a babysitter for a few years after that, but anytime she was a psycho, I just remember that sweet moment. If anyone actually reads this and wants to hear more about the babysitter or her child, let me know in the comments. I have so many stories of her and her craziness. You know what, I don't know about you guys, but I would be interested in more stories about this lady getting her just desserts. Maybe I'll do some digging. And with that, we have time for one more today. The final story of the day's title is Entitled Mother Forces Me Off the Horse Ride. Alright, so this is a shorter story from years ago when I was probably around 10 years old. My father frequently took my family and I with him to go shopping at a store whose name rhymes with the word hire. It was the middle of winter in the not-so-lovely Chicago northwest suburbs. It was evening, dark out, basically a nightmare for any child who has to go shopping with their family. And after an hour or so of walking around a gosh darn grocery store, I wanted to have some fun. So while my father was at the checkout, what did I do? Well, I went to go ride on the free horse ride that they had next to the checkout area. I told my mom where I was going, didn't see any other kids there, got on, and just sat there, because it was honestly more entertaining than standing in a boring checkout line. Then walks over the antagonist of our short story, Entitled Bench Mom. She walks over with her 8-year-old child and tells me to get off and let her kid have a turn. I told her that I would gladly get off and let her kid have a turn after the ride was done. Usually, they would last about 2 minutes anyway, so it's not like she was going to be sitting there until her kid graduated middle school or anything. But anyway, EBM is sitting there tapping her feet like the rabbit from the movie Bambi. Obviously, I notice it, and you can imagine my surprise when this lady decides to unplug the machine, pick me up, and set me on the ground, and then plug it back in and give her kid a turn. Of course, I didn't say anything because, well, I was 10 years old. Had I known better, I probably would have kicked that lady in the shins, but I digress. I walked back over to my mom and dad and tried to tell them what happened, as did my older brother, who just saw the whole thing and was disgusted with the woman. Of course, our parents were too occupied to listen or care, and in the end, we left that place without any sort of revenge or karma towards the woman. Years later, I told my parents that story, and neither of them recall me telling them about it, though my older brother remembers and told them such. They both felt absolutely horrible for what happened and apologized over and over for it. The good news is, I'm not mad at them for it. I love my parents to death, and they've done more to take care of me than I ever could have deserved. Isn't that just the most wholesome ending? With that, that's about all the time we have for today's episode of Life Stories, guys. My name is Trent. Thank you so much for tuning in again. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more content coming soon, and I will see you guys.